Hello and welcome to We Will Talk About It, this supernatural rewatch podcast where we watch one episode every week, spoiler free. I'm Megan.
I'm Kat.
And this week we are watching Season 2, Episode 1, In My Time of Dying.
It feels weird. It feels weird that we're on Season 2.
I know, I almost said Season 1. I had to really pause and think about it.
I know. I mean, we're on Episode 1. Wow.
Yes.
We're full circle moment.
We're back, guys.
We're back. We took a break. Things have happened.
Yeah.
Things have happened. I mean, the spoiler twist of is that we have a muted guest being your baby. Can't speak.
So yeah, we're back. We're talking about
back.
Season 2. It feels good to be back. Before we jump into Season 2 and actually talk about this episode, I do just want to say, because they do right at the start of the episode, they do the end of the last episode with the car crash. And I didn't talk about it in the last episode, but it's such a good car crash.
It is.
Like, it's so...
the 2000s too.
Just even for the budget of the show. Like,
yeah, definitely.
It's really good. It's really well done. I've read somewhere, and it's not in the wiki, so I must have read it somewhere else, that they had wanted to do a couple of goes of that, like the car crash, because it's a real car crash, obviously with no real people in it, but it's a real car crash. Like, they really crushed a truck into an Impala.
Oh boy.
And normally this is me trying to explain movie things, but like, you can crash in a way that you can get a couple of goes out of it. Like, it doesn't look destroyed, and so you can get a couple of goes. But apparently, like I said, I thought I read this in the wiki. I apparently didn't. Apparently something went wrong, and it went too well the first time around, and it just completely destroyed that Impala. And so they only got the one shot, which is the shot that's in the show.
Oh my God. Well, I mean,
it looks great.
Like, it looks
because it was slightly too real.
Yeah, slightly too real, but also that makes more sense, because if you've watched any movie, TV show that has a car crash, especially here in Australia, Home and Away is notorious for their these characters need to have something dramatic in their life happen.
Yep.
How about a car crash?
Yep.
Pin it on the board. You see a lot of, where they've got like dash cam, now they have a lot of, it doesn't look real. It just looks like someone is there's wires spinning the car down the cliff kind of scenario. This though, especially because I watched the episodes this morning. Yeah. Before, because I always fresh in the mind, so I'm not mistaking things. But let's be real. It's Season 2. I'm not going to change from Season 1, guys.
No, you're not.
I'm still the same person on the outside and in the inside. Here for the fire guns. This was I was like, oh my God, actually, this was like a really detailed car crash. Like, it wasn't just a, flick of a second and then you hear the sound of a car crash.
Yeah.
It was a couple of seconds. So
I
mean, what a fluke.
Yeah, what a fluke that it worked. Like I said, it worked too well, and so they only got one go.
Perfect though.
But it looks really, really good.
I would not have, if you had told me that they did that one shot, I'd be like, I don't believe you. But that's great.
Yeah. And fun fact, 10 years later, Jensen, for whatever reason, was just wandering around the backlot of the CW up in Vancouver, and they still had this Impala that they crashed. Obviously, it was covered in weeds and overgrown and stuff, but they still had it there, and he had just happened to wander across it almost exactly 10 years later. And he was like, is that the same Impala that we crashed in Season 1? And someone's like, oh yeah, that's the same one. He's like, what? And so so he took a picture and put it up on Twitter and stuff, being this is the first Impala.
This is
the OG Impala, because obviously they went on to have lots of Impalas for the show.
To, obviously.
But yeah, so before we get into the proper episode, I did just want to say I did not get a chance to talk about that car crash at the end, or I forgot, I guess. And
there's a lot of things happening in there.
We had a lot to say in those last 2 episodes.
We had a lot to talk about, and I'm not surprised. But it's good to know, because we do open obviously on, the first episode. We do have that little bit of a catch up of what happened in Season 1. Yeah,
so we open immediately after the crash, and we're now in Season 2, which means we're no longer dealing with the difference in the music between the DVD and what was broadcast, or what's on streaming services, which means we actually kind of get a sense of what I really appreciated at the end of Season 1, which is Bad Moon Rising playing, that real ambience of that scene, and it's really, really cool. And
which I was very grateful for, because I remember watching on the DVD when I first watched Supernatural, hearing Bad Moon Rising, and when I started watching this episode 1, it was great to hear that they still kept that, because I was like, it's such a harrowing kind of it's a great song. If you don't know it, find out, kids. But it's such, I know, it's just all of it. It's just like, I know.
Yeah, it's a really good song choice.
Yeah.
Obviously, props as always to Eric Kripke.
Oh,
He's
always.
really good on the song choices, and it's good that we don't have to talk about these differences anymore. I still don't understand why it's only in season 1. I still don't get it.
Yeah,
but
maybe, but who knows? Look, we just don't know.
We could not possibly answer the question.
It could be like the whole, RuPaul, season 1 filter kind of scenario. Like they learn.
Yeah, or I mean, it could be because I was thinking about the timing. It could be because the first season was the WB and then subsequent seasons were the CW.
Yeah, potentially. I mean,
the timing I think kind of works for that. Maybe.
Actually, you're probably right. It's probably what it is, but it doesn't matter. We're in season 2 where Kat doesn't have to listen to generic rock music.
No.
And I'm very grateful for this. So now I can actually live the full Supernatural experience, because I think I've said before in season 1, music is like the unsung hero. No, is like it's a character of its own, because it just plays into a lot of what happens through the story of the whole show.
Yeah, exactly.
And it was refreshing to go through episode 1 and go, oh, real music and not generic rock music.
The intended music, I should say.
The intended, what was originally broadcast on the TV.
And what was sort of chosen as part of the production.
Definitely.
And so, we're back. We are back in an episode written by Eric Kripke.
Yes, we are.
Directed by Kim Manners. And I think that definitely comes through. These two working together is always something a little bit extra.
Oh, yeah.
And Kim Manners has that real sort of cinematic quality I mean, obviously he's a very experienced director by this point. He'd been done a ton of the X-Files episodes, you know, so we're talking about someone who'd been working for 20 odd years by this stage. But he definitely brings that kind of cinematic quality to his episodes, particularly when they're paired with Kripke as well, and like his writing. Yeah.
I feel like the two, they're like the great pair, like, Chip and Dale, everything comes together, it works together. I mean, they're not Chip and Dale because I love Chip and Dale. Just like the balance.
I love that you're like, what's a famous, wonderful pairing? Like something that's really cool and everyone immediately recognizes. Chip and Dale.
Rescue Rangers, man. I'm just saying. Chip and Dale Rescue Rangers. Shout out to my Rescue Ranger peeps.
It's so beautifully written, and I was thinking this whole time watching this episode as well, like it's so satisfying to watch these 3 actors act. And to see them bounce off each other, and to see as well, like, we're in season 2 now, and you can get the sense that like Jensen and Jared have a lot more comfort with who Dean and Sam are. And you get to see them bounce off Jeffrey Dean Morgan, who's obviously this incredible actor. I think it's worth saying at the start of the episode, just so we can like talk about it throughout the episode, and just so I can give some like context to what happens in this episode. Eric Kripke actually decided that Dad, Jeffrey Dean Morgan, had to die pretty early in season 1. And that's
Game of Thrones style.
Well, not even that. He just realized that anytime beyond season 1, if Dad wasn't with them, which was always the intention, Jeffrey Dean Morgan was not brought on as a lead actor, and they had no intention of bringing him on. But if he's off doing something else, is what he is doing more exciting than what the boys are doing? And are we always going to be waiting for them to re-meet with Dad?
And that was very season 1 because it made sense.
Yes. And so he realized pretty early on in season 1 that Dad had to die. Because if he stuck around, then you'd always be wondering, oh, when are they going to meet up with Dad again? Like the story wouldn't keep moving on because the story would be with him rather than with the boys.
Exactly. So, and especially when season 1, it's about the boys. Like it's the sole focus. That's the whole point of Supernatural. And then if you're like, okay, well maybe we leave Dad in as the three musketeers style, does it become, the relationships sort of change? And develop differently versus what we have encountered.
And I guess as well as what sort of what Kripke had mapped out as well. And I don't think he ever intended for John to join them and to become like a sort of a threesome. No,
I was gonna say thruple, but also no. look, Three Musketeer kind of scenario of just like a team of 3, battling it out, battling the supernatural. And as much as I enjoy when Dad is there, because again, the way the actors, Jeffrey as an actor is also not much, like he's not old enough that as the show progresses, he's not going to age as he should as a dad. And I think that would have really taken people out of the fantasy of it all.
And I think even in this episode, because I think at this stage he's also appearing on Grey's Anatomy, where he's playing an age-appropriate character.
Exactly.
He's 36, 37, I think, in real life in this. And so they clearly didn't do as much business to age him up this time. Like, he definitely even looks a little younger in these episodes. And it definitely plays into a lot of the themes, obviously, particularly in the first sort of 5 seasons that are the Kripke, sort of the Kripke era seasons. And so it all kind of, it definitely plays out, and it definitely sets up a lot of the ongoing themes for the show as well. So even though I'm very sad to see Jeffrey Dean Morgan go,
100%.
little unsure if I cared much about
Look, it's sad in the sense of like the boys have to lose another parent.
Yeah.
So especially when they're like 26, 27.
Yeah.
You know, they're quite in their mid 20s, like heading into like mid to late 20s. They're losing parents, and you know, as someone who's also parents in like early 20s, it has a lasting effect of you. You know, again, that just adds more, you know, to, as I go back to my my soup broth, my, you know, master stock, it adds another layer.
Yeah,
It
exactly.
adds another layer of this master stock for the boys and their journey for the next 13 seasons, because we're in season 2.
Yeah. And as well, I think it's, you know, it's a complicated parental relationship.
Oh, yeah.
So, not to obviously get too much into your relationship with your dad, but he, you know, you didn't have a negative.
No, I had a good upbringing. My dad was not a hunter. He was not out there, you know, vengeful spirited, you know, looking for some vengeance. No, not that. But again, so I mean, it's because they have had all this negative experience, and their life was centered more around. He was quite selfish as a father. We've had discussions. Go back and listen to season 1. We get in there about generational trauma. I think it's really good that I'm glad that they did that, because I completely forgot. Take a shot. I forgot that he died.
Great.
Because standard for Kat, had to forget something. Love this episode. Forgot he died. And I was like, oh, yeah. And my partner was like, yeah, because he does a thing. Remember the thing? And I was like, yes. He's like, you just watched the thing. What is happening? What do your audience listen to? I'm like, look, they listen to me basically meander about stuff.
Yeah.
He was, he's like, wow. I'm like, I know. Like a sieve. like a sieve.
Like a sieve. That's why she has to watch the episodes that morning, so that we keep it as fresh as possible in her brain.
Even if I write notes.
I can't believe you forgot probably one of the most pivotal plot points of the show.
It's very much, it opens up a gateway of things to come. Yeah. And I'm just over here going,
the scale of foreshadowing in this episode that I can't talk about,
we cannot talk about. I mean, we will talk about it later. But right now we cannot.
We just can't. But yeah, I just thought we'd talk about it front up, that like this wasn't a flippant decision. This was actually a long time coming. So like Jeffrey knew that he wasn't going to stick around. Yeah. And it definitely makes sense to me. And like, as much as I really enjoyed watching them interact and watch these interactions, like, I don't know that I would want to watch a whole show about Sam and John butting heads, and like,
because it gets grating. It gets grating, and
as I'm sure it does for people who've had to experience this in real life, and this is their experience of their parents' relationship. So, and it does play into a lot of things that are really interesting about complex parental relationships and what happens when. We'll talk about it, you know, when that person's not there to resolve stuff.
Exactly.
And directly. And also, obviously, it's not like Jeffrey Dean Morgan then went and didn't do anything amazing. Yeah, like, he then went on and did, like, The Walking Dead and Watchmen and, like...
Yeah, I was going to say, not like he went and sat in the chair, bitter as all hell, you know, then he's going to get vengeance.
He went on and he's gone on to have an incredible career. And so, like, and he was already sort of moving on from stuff, and that's why he was on Grey's Anatomy already. It was because he knew he wasn't sticking around.
Yeah, he was a feature, and that's what we wanted. Yeah. And I mean, I will say this, and I'm not in the camp of, if Jensen presented himself in a situation that was sexual, I would take it.
Okay.
We've discussed this.
We've discussed this. I feel like you discuss it more than I discuss being, like, thirsty for him. You always have to be like, I would never.
I could never. No. But I will always have Jensen as an actor.
Yes.
This.
Yes.
Again, chills. And I think, again, that's why he gets the acting in this. I'm just like, holy shit, you just get better with fucking age. You fucking magical unicorn.
Yeah. And, you know, we'll talk more about this over the seasons, about sort of the character bleed with Dean and Jensen. Jensen is a little, like, there's a lot of overlap, and there becomes a lot of overlap over the years. Yeah. Like, he truly inhabits this character, and he truly understands this character and like loves and cares for this character. Like this is a part of his personality. Like, I mean, I think I've talked about it on the show. Maybe I haven't. Maybe I talked about it when we talked about the prequel. That he's said that this is the best imaginary friend that he's ever had.
Yes.
And so if you can definitely see how comfy he's getting with Dean.
And this is no shade on Jared.
Oh no, I was about to say the same thing. Like there's some scenes in here where you're like, oh, he's Sam now.
Yeah.
Like that sort of learning that they've done.
Why they had 15 seasons.
Yeah, because they become these characters.
They become these characters. It's not just I'm going to phone it in and I'm going to play this character for 6 seasons. Like, no, they live, they breathe. They get it. They understand the like nuances that you didn't know that need to be there, but they're there.
Yeah. So the car crash happens. Yep. We are at the truck driver gets out, obviously possessed by a demon.
Yep. As we know, because of
black eyes, and so Sam has the Colt cocked at them. The demon's like, "You're not going to use that. You're saying that for someone else." And Sam's like, "Want to bet?"
Yeah. He like brings it up. It's like real baller move. Just like. Try me. I'm done. Like I just got hit by a truck. And I mean, we could all be in that. Like, even though we know that bullet would be useful to get the real villain, you just got smashed up. You don't know how your family is. Like, you've just been hit by a truck, literally. And
so the demon obviously leaves, and this truck driver has suddenly come to like, did I do this? Did I do this?
I'm so sorry.
You know, we cut to the next day with the, they've got the helicopters coming in, they're going to hospital, and then we cut and it's Dean waking up in a hospital bed.
Oh, yeah.
And he's kind of walking around. He's really, really confused. He sees a nurse and he's like, hey, I'm trying to find my dad and my brother. They were just brought in, like all of this kind of stuff. And the nurse is just ignoring him. And like, he realizes something wrong.
Sam's the only one that's awake. When they're going into the helicopter, Sam obviously is awake.
Yes.
He he's quite upset. He wants to know how Dean and his dad are because they're not responding. So all we know is that they're unconscious.
Yeah.
And then we get that full body again. That startled me because I was like, I wasn't expecting this. For whatever reason, I thought there was a little bit in between where Sam's okay, goes into the room. Goes into Dad's room, which does happen, but I thought it was back to front.
Yeah.
I thought that happened first, and then they're talking about Dean, and then we discover that Dean is where Dean is, and then this happens.
Yes, but no.
But no. Kat's head flipped it. It's what she does.
So Dean is wandering around. He's clear that no one can see him. No one is acknowledging him.
Nope.
He goes back to the room where he came from and he sees himself obviously in bed.
Yeah.
Unconscious, hooked up to machines. And so it's very clear that Dean is in a coma or he's in some kind of situation.
Yeah. Medical coma or a coma because of his
injuries. And then, Sam comes in and he's beat up, but he's okay.
Yeah.
He's just beat up.
Yeah. He's just a little bit bruised.
Yeah, well, yeah, definitely. And the doctor comes in and sort of talking to him about what's going on with Dean, and that he's like, my concern is that the head trauma. If he wakes up, we're not sure what condition he'll be in.
Yeah, if he wakes up.
If he wakes up, but that his that his father is awake, and so he can go see him if you like. And so we get all this really quick exposition of
very quickly.
Clearly, Dean is not in the world. He's in some kind of spirit realm. Exactly how that works, we sort of learn throughout the episode.
Yep.
But John is okay and Sam is okay.
I enjoy in this when Dean is also finding out his prognosis via whatever realm that they're in. What he's in, sorry, because obviously he's watching, I guess, like third party view out. I love that he says, Sammy, don't give up on me. Do what you have to do. Get a voodoo priest or whatever. Just like make me better. Yeah. And I love that when Sam does go in to see John and talk to him, and John is kind of given him his insurance card. Like that's the first he's like, give him my insurance card of John McGillicuddy, which I had to Google because I'm like, I know that name, and why do I know that name? So my mum was a big fan of I Love Lucy, which is also wiki, because it led me to a wiki.
Yes.
To the super wiki, which Meghann has props out, and I also props out, especially this one, because I'm like, why? I've heard that name before. Why does it remind me of something? It's I Love Lucy. It's I Love Lucy's name in I Love Lucy.
Yeah.
And I'm like, oh, look at these little nods that I had to Google, because I'm like, why does that sound so familiar? Like so that's... Anyway, I love that there is this moment where interaction between John and Sam, and John's quite reserved and is just like, well, we'll just let nature take the course, like take the wheel. Literally, let's let Jesus take the wheel on this one.
Yeah.
And Sam's like, I'm gonna do everything in my power, even if it means I have to go to like a hoodoo, like priest or whatever to get, or like a faith healer. This needs to happen, and John is just mad. But I love that there's this little, we all know Sam has some type of power from last season. Is this his power, or is he, did he hear this, or is he just thinking this?
Like that he's parroting Dean's exact words back to him, and and John's asking where the cult is and like what's going on, and he's like, oh, I've sent Bobby to get the Impala, so that's where the cult is, so the cult's safe, and Sam's getting a little bit narky, like, I can't believe that that's what your focus is. Like your son is dying, and that's what your focus is you're thinking about the cult. And we do see throughout the episode kind of what John's ultimate plan is. Again, I don't really know how I feel about any of this kind of like ultimate sacrifice stuff that John goes through. Like it does, I don't know how I feel about it. I feel like there's probably lots of podcasts that really dig into the psychological stuff of it, but it's just like, I don't know.
As a viewer though, you just like,
I don't, in 2021, I don't know how I feel about the fact that he ultimately sacrifices himself to get Dean back, and like how much worth, like not that I thought Dean should die, but like how much worth that has, and like how much forgiveness that earns him,
how much guilt that will eventually lead, because if that's when they find out, like it just it's
I don't know how I feel about it.
Look, we've discussed a lot about traumas, and this one, like it's like, I'm doing the right thing. It's like, for you think you're doing the right thing, you're not really thinking about the leftover, like resilient, not resilient, the
residual
residual, the remnants of everything left over, because that happens. And then, well, what happens if Sam and Dean find out the real reason why you did that? Like, it's just, that's layers. I mean, again, that's why we have 15 seasons, but still, it's like, at the time, everyone would have been like, oh my God, he did the good father thing, like he was a shit father, but he saved Dean. And it's like, but at what cost?
And again, I'll give this show props, and we'll talk about it sort of a little bit later. I'll give this show props for like, it knows what story it's actually telling. Like, it's not acting like it's telling a story of like something really honorable. It's aware of the problems and
the grit. 100%.
Like it's aware of like the reality of this relationship. And again, I'm not sure exactly how well they handle it broad strokes, but like it's not unintentional the way that this is all structured. And we'll talk a little bit later about like the scene that made me go, oh, okay, this Kripke knows what he's doing in terms of like this relationship and how it's viewed by us, even like maybe not so much at the time, but definitely now in 2021. Like he
had a vision.
He knew and he understood the story he was telling in reality, and not just like maybe the sort of idealized version of 2006, 2007.
I mean, me watching this show from 2014 to now, even that 7 years, just having grown up and you know, as an adult and understanding a little bit more about the world and how people have their emotions and what they do with said emotions and their actions and how it affects others, more so in different situations. Yet you, as we've discussed, there's a lot of things I'm like, that's questionable. That's really questionable. And this one was definitely this, especially at the ending. There's a lot of stuff I'm like, I get the reason why, but at the same time, Eric obviously knew where he wanted to take this vehicle, and the vehicle is not the way. Like it's real, and it's not. Again, we've had this discussion. It's not two hunters coming from the Hunter Academy. It's not rosy. It's not.
No.
It's edgy. It's got the grit. It's got the filth, because that's what real life is.
Yeah, and I think as well, like, over all of this, we always have to consider the fact that he was trying to tell these stories in 2006 on the CW.
Yep.
And, you know, we sort of, you know, there's a couple of times people have asked Jensen and Jared at like conventions and stuff, like, what do you think the show would be like if it was on HBO? And they're both like, we know because of The Boys. And you get to see in The Boys, I think, what Eric Kripke was thinking about and the stories he was trying to tell within these more confined world
and
in 2000 and limitations and rules and like what you can and can't say and what you can and can't do. And you get to see that realized much better in The Boys, where he has that freedom to tell those stories and to have those conversations and to like dig into that stuff in a way that you couldn't do in 2006 on the CW.
Yeah,
like,
there's a lot.
And so definitely for me watching The Boys, I could see that connective tissue, and you can go, oh, he always wanted to tell those kinds of stories, but in the world that he's
stuck. That's why The Boys is so good.
And you know and so some of it is that the situation of being in a network show in 2006 kind of limits their ability to
do some things,
really dig into some of that stuff or really push those storylines. This is me making conjecture. I could be wrong, but I feel like I see that in some of the ways that it's played out in The Boys. So Sam goes to get the Impala. He's talking with Bobby. John has asked him to get some things for protection, some ingredients for a spell or a hex bag. We're not really sure.
Curse, some kind of like protection. Something.
Protection against the demon.
Yeah.
And
protection against the dark arts. That's a different world altogether.
Yes, and you also meant defense against the dark arts.
Yeah. See, look, didn't even get it right. So.
But yeah, and so Bobby is there, and at first Bobby's like, I don't think the Impala is worth saving. It's being beaten up so much. And Sam's like, even if there's a tiny chance, I think we have to save it for Dean.
For Dean.
And Bobby's like, sure. This isn't a metaphor for how you feel about the fact that Dean may not survive at all, but sure, I'll keep this beat up car. Don't worry.
He's like, even if, the engine's still running, we can fix everything else. And Bobby, you can see Bobby was going to say, and then you can see he was going to say something, and then he just holds back. He goes, I'm going to let Sam process what he needs to process. He doesn't need me shitting on his parade.
Yeah, he's like, okay, sure. This definitely isn't about Dean.
This is not, this is 100% not masking. No. I'm just going to leave that one. Not gonna pick my battles. And I love that Bobby does that. He could, but he ain't.
I will also say in this scene, this is where we sort of get season 2 Sam hair, which is the most aggressively 2007 faux emo hair.
Oh, it so is. It's these eyes. Like,
barely see his eyes underneath his bangs.
Brows. Does he have eyebrows? We don't know.
It's a beautiful thing to behold. So lastly, Sam gives Bobby the list of ingredients for the protection cell.
Face,
and Bobby's like, yeah, this is not for protecting against the demon. It is for summoning the demon.
And I just love that Bobby's just not going to, he doesn't pussyfoot.
No.
He's like, what the fuck do you want? Basically, he's like, why do you want this? You know what's happening in your family right now. Is this, it's very much, the faces he's giving is like, why do you want to do this? Like, this makes no sense. And then obviously he's realized, and then Sam's realized, like, Dad wants to obviously call someone.
Yes, he wants to summon the demon.
He wants to summon the Yellow Eyes demon, so.
Yeah, and so from obviously the whole time we're not privy to John's plan either.
No.
And so we're seeing it from Sam's perspective of him being like, you wanted the cult, so that means that you want to go after the demon because you do not care about what's happening to Dean.
Yeah.
And all of that tracks historically with John's behavior, and so like you can definitely beautifully written episode, Eric.
Yeah, it's one of my favorites.
It's it's so well written, and I mean obviously we're not watching this for the first time, so we kind of already have the reveal at the end that that's actually not what John is doing, but at the same time, like again, I don't know how I feel. I obviously wanted Dean to live.
Yeah, we all, of course we did.
And again, it's not like I'm like, how dare you, Kripke, do this? It's more just like, I don't know how I feel about like whether this absolves him of sins or whether this absolves him of previous behavior. And we'll talk about that, I guess.
I'll just say right here, it does not.
It does not.
It does not. In my mind, it does not. Like, we all know I forgot that big plot point.
Yes.
Yeah, I mean.
What did you think happened to him for the remaining, how you've seen up into season 10? Yeah. So what did you think had happened to him?
He noped out, just like left. He just like left like literally a Dear John letter.
Sure.
And then fucked off.
Right.
And then just changed his name, left, gone.
Okay.
Because he,
Right.
Yeah. Because I was trying to remember about what happens to Dean and what, obviously, I knew it's not a spoiler, he obviously lives because 15 seasons.
Yeah.
But I was trying to remember
Like how?
How, like, did he, because I couldn't remember, like, I knew something happened in the episode that was quite large.
Mm-hmm.
I'm not trying to spoil the episode yet because we're not there yet. But I knew there was something, and I'm like, did he, fight something, or did he just push himself back in there? Did he speak to, like, was it like a Missouri kind of scenario? Yep. And I was trying to work it out, and I'm like, really overthinking this. Meanwhile, while this is happening in my head, Bobby and Sam are having this exchange of, this ain't, the ingredients you're giving me is not for a pot roast, it's for let's summon a demon to bring into the hospital.
You mean a protection spell?
Yeah, I know. I realized I said pot roast.
It's not for a pot roast.
It's not for a pot roast.
Which was not what Sam was asking for in the first place.
Dane's, oh my God.
Could you get Bobby to grab this? I really want to make a pot roast.
Yeah, right now. I feel like it's gonna center I think the energies really need some comforting food. Could you imagine? I mean, you can't, because let's be real.
Yeah, I love that you would probably try. Like,
I was saying something.
This isn't for a pot roast.
I was trying to say protection spell, and then you
said
roast.
Pot roast.
Pot roast.
This isn't for a pot roast. This is a summoning spell. Couldn't have gotten more wrong. John wasn't making a pot roast.
He wasn't making a pot roast. But yeah, while that was happening, stuff was happening on TV, and I really needed to focus. So I did, but I honestly thought that because John's left before. Like, I just assumed he'd gone.
For 15 years.
With
no consequences.
It's been 82 years.
With no consequences. Nah. With nothing.
I mean, that could also be on brand for John because he's done it before. So I just assumed.
After the whole of season 1, you didn't go, wow, I can't believe that he just goes away and that character's never mentioned again after all of this trauma from the last season. I can't believe that they just like wrote him out.
Hence why I was confused. I was like, hang on. And then when we find out that he does pass, I'm like, oh, there we go. That's how we wrap that little parcel up with a nice cute bow.
Oh my God.
Yeah. Look, sometimes I'm smart, but sometimes I forget things, and those things are quite pivotal.
Yes, so pivotal. Aggressively
Yeah.
pivotal.
Aggressively, like,
to not only this season, but
to
the future seasons.
Yeah, and also the series as a whole.
Yes.
And also prequel. There's a lot of things like Kat gets, and there's a lot of things she doesn't, and there's just one of the things she doesn't get. But yeah, so not pot roast, protection spell. Obviously plot twist.
It's a summoning spell.
So
Sam goes back. He is talking to John. He's really angry because, again, we're seeing this all from Sam's perspective.
Oh, yeah.
In the first time you see this, you don't have the reveal of what John's actually up to.
No,
John's like, no, I've got a plan. He's like, yeah, Dean is dying and you have a plan. Like, this is the way it always is.
And while this is all happening, Dean's wandering the hospital.
So Sam and John are fighting it out. Dean is obviously
wandering around.
No.
Yeah, because he wandered. Because he's. We're not there yet, are we?
No, we're not there yet.
Continue.
Sam and John are having it out. Sam's really mad. Dean is there. He's trying to do what he does in life, which is mediate and get them to get along.
Yep.
And, he's really trying, and he gets really, really angry, and he gets, obviously the sort of sense is that his spirit energy kind of coalesces and he smashes a glass.
Yeah.
And John and Sam both look at the glass and look at each other, and it's a very different reaction, obviously, compared to maybe what you might have seen for people who weren't hunters, because both of them were like, interesting.
Yeah.
What's going on here?
There is something happening. A glass just doesn't. Also, it's very interesting because you don't get glass in a hospital. It's always plastic.
Yeah, wouldn't have been as dramatic an effect
as a smash. But also, I do love that Dean says the kind of line of like, I just swayed that.
Yeah.
I'm like, yes, you did. Yes. But yeah, it's there's something there, and I think Sam even more so because he's had a bit of like, his ESPN is working, and yes, I meant to say ESPN.
Good.
Throw out to Mean Girls. His ESPN's given off a little bit of vibe, and then this happens. I think he knows.
Yeah, and I think as well, it's like Sam's more willing to believe that straight away be like, because again, we don't know, quote unquote, what John's up to. John's very single focused.
Yep.
And so he's not paying as much attention
to the surroundings. Yeah.
And at this same time, Dean in the real world starts to code, and so he's running into his own room to see his own body, and he sees a figure. A ghosty figure hovering above his bed. He grabs it, and it sort of flies away and he recovers enough not to die, but it was clear that he was in the process of dying.
Yeah. And we know that something's happening. He's coding in the room is because Dean makes I sway, I just sway seed the glass.
Yeah.
And then he starts flickering.
Yeah.
And he sort of
drops, like a ghost.
Like a ghost. Like he flickers in and out. And then Sam looks out the door from John's room and you just see people running towards where Dean is. So it's very much like something's happening. It's got obviously something to do with this ghost thing. Spooky thing. I say spooky thing. Look at that. Very technical. And yeah, so, that happens.
And so Dean is now wandering the hospital and he hears a woman screaming like, why can't you hear me? Like, can you hear me? Why can't anyone see me?
Yep.
And he walks out and sees one of the most beautiful women in a show that seems to have exclusively beautiful women.
Oh, she's my probably top 3 hottie.
She's so beautiful.
Without being overdone.
Yes.
She is naturally beautiful. She is like, whoa, if I saw you in the street as someone who identifies as straight, I'd be like, that is a very pretty woman.
She's so beautiful. So he meets Tessa, who came into the hospital for an appendectomy and, she's standing in front. They go to her room and she sees what we assume is probably her mum, like, her hand, and she's also attached to machines.
Yeah.
And this is where we sort of get Dean being like, no, we're kind of shades. We're on the brink of death. And so that's why we're here.
Almost like out-of-body experience. He lists a couple. He go like Dean being obviously a hunter, knowing the different terms. Because I was like, this is very impressive. I have to Google this. But yeah, very much like you're having an most commonly an out-of-body experience, which makes sense as to why no one's paying attention. Yeah. He can see his own body. He can...
he's not dead.
He's not dead. He's not in limbo. He's not in purgatory. He's not in any of these things. He's just having an out-of-body experience.
Yep, absolutely. Yeah. And so she's introduced almost kind of as a intermediary for Dean to explain and sort of what's going on.
What's happening where he is, because it's not really clear.
Yes.
Because she's just like, well, you're not dead, so you're not a ghost, but you're not in limbo because you're still here. Yeah. They're obviously, we don't know what limbo or what any of this means. Yeah. Where are you?
And so he's explaining and he's like, no, the body can bounce back and you can snap back into your body. That's what can happen. Yeah. And she seems to be taking it very well and he's very like, wow, you're handling this better than me. And she's like, well, it's a natural process. If I'm here and I'm meant to pass on, that's what's meant to happen.
Yeah.
And if not, everything happens for a reason. And Dean's response is no. That is bullshit.
Yeah. Look, his spider senses were tingling and they were tingling to the nth degree, and not because she's an attractive woman, because she is
beautiful.
So beautiful. It's just everything about this package. I'm just like, look, I believe the term is called honeypotting.
Sure.
Honeypotting. Do you know what honeypotting is?
Yes, I do. Yeah. I don't know if that's technically what I would describe this as.
I kind of think so.
A little bit. She's a little bit of a honeypot for sure.
She's like, okay, she's 50%.
And he's like, no, that's crap. Like, you can come back from this. We can come back from this. We can fight and we can survive. Yeah. And that's, I think, a really important aspect to make a big mental note of in terms of Dean's perspective on these sorts of things. And so just put a pin in that one for the next 13 seasons.
Look, all I'm going to say is make it red, make it loud, make it a big wah, sound, whatever you need, because it's going to be a thing. And he is kind of like, interesting, noted.
I don't know that he is. I think that he genuinely, because there's a reveal coming, guys, which is why we're dancing around it, but I don't think he has any suspicions.
Not yet.
No, I think he just thinks that she's a really well-adjusted spirit.
Yes.
And that he's obviously as well, having his own really personal perspective on what's happening. And there probably would be people in the world who would end in this situation and be like, okay, this might just be where this might be my station sort of thing. True. I don't think he has any suspicions that she's anything other than what she says she is.
Yep.
But yeah, he has a very strong reaction, which is obviously very personally motivated. We sort of cut to a little bit later and Sam is back in Dean's room and he's like, Dean, I hope you're here because I have an idea about something that might work. And he brings out a talking board. It's a Ouija board,
Yeah,
but
it's a mystical talking tool.
Yep.
And I'm like, also known as a Ouija board. And as my partner said, he's like, you mean a Waluigi board? Because that's what he calls them.
right.
He's like, Waluigi boards.
So fun fact, I don't know if this is still the case, but at the time, Ouija board was actually a trademark of Mattel.
It is. It still is. So it's branding.
And so they couldn't say Ouija board because it's a branded name.
Yeah.
And they
like
would
Band-Aid.
Yeah. And so that's why it's called a mystical talking board instead of being called a Ouija board. And so they're sort of like, I don't know if this is going to work. And then, but Dean is able to communicate with Sam. And it's through this that we find out that Dean is hunting and he's hunting a Reaper. Mm-hmm. And it's very different, obviously, to the situation that we found ourselves in last season with Faith, where it was obviously a Reaper that had been captured or enslaved. I don't want to use that word, but I don't have a better...
Yeah, it was captured and was doing a person's bidding.
Yes, and so very different situation here, because this is a Reaper that is in the hospital doing
Reaper things.
Yeah, taking lives as part of the natural process of life. And so they're not really sure how to stop it. And I will say, because we've accidentally skipped a couple of things that I really wanted to talk about.
Yeah.
So we'll come back to Reapers and we'll come back into
where we are.
But there were sort of two things that happened earlier on. The first thing was that John promised Sam that he wouldn't hunt for the demon until he knew Dean was okay. And the second thing that happened that is kind of for me where I really feel like Eric does know what he's doing in terms of how he's portraying these characters, in terms of this relationship, like that he's not flippantly writing these characters without understanding the psychology behind it, because we have this conversation. Or does that happen later? Now I'm confused.
I was like, which conversation?
Now I'm confused. Yes, I have gotten confused. So they go to John's room and John has disappeared. Yeah. Despite telling Sam that he's not going to hunt the demon this is what Sam thinks is happening, is he's going to hunt the demon. That's why he wants to summon the demon. Yeah. That's why he got the spell.
And at this point, Kat's brain had thought, oh, he's skipped town.
This is where you're like, now we're back on the story that I've told myself in my head.
Turns out no.
Turns out now. And so, but he's left his journal behind.
Yeah.
And so they're reading through Reapers, and we don't sort of see all the reading because obviously Sam's by himself ultimately, and they do a lot of really clever camera work with Dean and Sam not seeing each other and all of that sort of stuff. Like props, Kim Manners, as always. Mm-hmm. He does a lot of work with making it clear of these are people that are in the same scenes together, but they're not able to, they're not recognizing each other, not able to see each other. So Dean's reading over his shoulder and he's like, God damn it. And he runs off. He runs off into the room where he previously saw Tessa lying in bed being tended to by his mum, and she's sitting there looking even hotter because she's changed out of her hospital
and she's
outfit.
In basically a suit.
She's in this kind of sexy black suit situation. Power suit. She's got, I think she's got a little frilly kind of sweetheart. Sorry, this is such a distraction into what she's wearing. But
but she's also wearing some nice heels.
She is, and she's looking very, very beautiful. And she's like, "Hello,
stoic,
Dean."
Very stoic, and just, and the lighting is so good.
Yeah. I mean, I don't think you have to work very hard, of course, to
when
light.
You're naturally gifted genetically.
But yes, it's really lit really beautifully, and this beautiful scene happens where Dean has realized.
Hello, Dean.
Yes.
The way she just starts this conversation.
Mm-hmm. And she, I'm just trying to find the, Dean reveals that he had read that Reapers make you see what
you want.
What they want you to see. And, it's something that helps, and that might be, a pretty girl.
Like I said, honeypotting.
And so she had taken the form, the Reaper that he has seen has taken the form of a pretty girl because it's his time.
Yeah. And she explains to him, she's like, I didn't, this is my sandbox.
Mm-hmm.
I have to, sometimes it's easier for, and she's so stoic and so, she's so calm.
Mm-hmm.
And you're like, oh, this is not scary. And she kind of makes it more human. And she has this the way she's delivering things, and she's non-threatening. Like, you think,
Mhm.
oh, everything that they fight has to be evil, and she's not. She's like, it's the natural order, and if I have to change my appearance because you didn't appreciate how I came to you, then that's what I have to do because that's my job.
Mhm.
And I want to, it's better for you to, your time has come.
Yeah.
Come with me. Make it easier on yourself.
Mhm.
And then we sort of get this reveal that if he fights it, that's how aggressive spirits are formed.
Yes.
Because they stay in out of body astro plane kind of
they
world.
become ghosts.
They become ghosts.
His body will still die because she's like, you're not going back to your body.
Yeah. And then they end up becoming vengeful and aggressive spirits. And she's like, that's how they're made. They're not born that.
Yeah.
They're not created that way. They're created by you not following the natural path.
Yeah.
Which is coming with me.
Yeah.
And I love, great actress. Tessa is a great actress. And I love her.
Yes.
And that's why I think this is why it was one of my favorite episodes, is because Eric Kripke, what is with me today, wrote Tessa in such a way that was so non-threatening.
Yes. And this is what I've been excited to talk about.
Yes.
Tessa, not so much the name, but definitely the character and the visuals of what she looks like are very informed by Neil Gaiman, once again coming up, and his Sandman comics and the character of Death. So I'm going to show Kat a picture of what Death looks like in the comics.
Oh, yeah.
Yes. So we'll put something on social media of what the character of Death looks like, at least in one of the many iterations. Death can look like anything. But yes, sort of her most common, or their most common appearance in the comics is very similar to Tessa's visual appearance.
Oh, definitely. Like, she's not and I don't say bimbos because it's a horrible word and a horrible derogatory term.
Yes.
But it's not the hot girls that Dean is always chasing in bars.
Yes.
She's
other.
She's very other. She's very classic. She's watch the episode if you haven't. Watch it because
why are you listening to us?
Why are you listening to us? But also, she is just a stunning natural beauty, and I think that's the difference here. It's like they could have got some, I'm not gonna say bimbo. They could have gotten someone that would have been very played into Dean's wheelhouse of who he's bedded before.
Yeah,
but this is someone at next level, natural beauty.
Yeah,
and again, I just love how they wrote her. I just love this exchange. I love her explanation. I'm like, oh.
And and obviously it was meant to be a little Easter egg of what the Death character looks like.
Yep.
We've talked about Neil Gaiman before and American Gods and how that was a massive influence on Eric Kripke. They actually did see recently on Twitter after Eric Kripke won Emmy for The Boys, and he sort of posted something on Twitter being like, I can't believe that this is a show that you guys give me an Emmy for, which is very funny. And I saw Neil Gaiman actually replied on Twitter and was like, I'm so proud of you, like, and the work you're doing. And I'm like, my heart.
This is why I'm not on Twitter.
My heart. It was like I cannot. You don't have the ability to not respond
no, I don't.
to things. But yes, the dialogue in this scene between these two is so beautifully written. I'm going to read like a teeny tiny
it's
little.
It's electric. It's like I've got goosebumps, man.
It's so beautifully written, and their acting is so beautiful. And Tessa is playing this like other incarnate. She has seen and she has been, and she is eternal.
You could feel like she's been around since the creation of human. Like she just has that. Again, I'm just gonna say it, stoic. She's just stoic through it, and it's just she comes across as worldly and well traveled, like an old soul, but also non-threatening.
Yes,
and that's what I love.
Because I think we'll talk about death in the supernatural world.
Oh yes, we will.
But this idea of death being eternal and being something more and something that isn't a threat in the big picture way. And so I'm just going to read a teeny little bit of the dialogue from the scene. So Tessa tells Dean that the fight is over and Dean is like, no, it isn't. And she says, it is for you, Dean. You're not the first soldier I've plucked from the field. They all feel the same. They can't leave. Victory hangs in the balance. But they're wrong. The battle goes on without them. And Dean sort of is like, no, like my family is in trouble. We're in danger. He's like, maybe he will, maybe he won't. Nothing you can do about it. It's an honorable death, a warrior's death, which is very kind of not even so much like, Judeo-Christian idea of death, but a very almost kind of like Viking view of death and a warrior's death, and he's dying in battle, which for Vikings and for a lot of cultures is the most honorable way to die. And so, and we also learn in this episode that Tessa is not going to tell him what, if anything, comes next.
Nope.
If he dies, she's like, no, I can't.
That's not my story to tell, essentially.
Yeah, like
that's that's part of the journey.
Yeah,
it's like not the unknown.
And so, we sort of see all of this, and they're having this conversation, and she's like, you're not going back into your body.
Nope.
So your only choice is come with me to whatever comes next, or you stay here and you become a vengeful spirit. You become the thing that you fight.
Yeah.
And in the meantime, John is down in the boiler room. I have some questions about what a boiler is.
I do too. Is it like a Is it like a hot water system?
Is it like a hot water system? Is that what it is, or is it a heating system?
Is it like, does it heat your water? I feel like it boils the water.
Yeah.
It's like, we call it a hot water system, which is, that's where the electricity goes. It heats the water, and then you turn your tap on and you have hot water. Is it just a bigger scale of that? America, tell me.
Yes.
Tell
Kenzie,
us.
tell us.
Yeah, someone, please. I beg. I beg of thee.
So, because they always seem to show up in horror films, and not many other
have 2 doors with glass windows that have that weird like grid paper style like
security glass.
Yeah. And they always have big fucking letters of boiler room. So you don't mistake.
So you know where you are.
So you know where you are. And then this side,
you don't know what it does.
When John's coming down, you just see a dark figure because you're on the other side. You're in the boiler room looking out, and you see the figure, and we see John.
Yes.
And I was like, how do you have access down to a boiler room? Like, I feel
like he's wily.
I mean,
he's also got moxie. Where do you think Dean got his moxie from?
Yeah, true. I understand, but it's like, it's always, everyone seems like, how easy is, okay, if you have 1, tell us you have a boiler room, and 2, how easy is it to get to somewhere like a hospital's boiler room? Is it easy?
I don't know. These are questions we can't answer because we don't know what a boiler room is.
America.
But that's where John is. And he is in the boiler room, and he is summoning the demon. So again, we're seeing this from the perspective of someone who's never watched this show before. Obviously we have, where they're like, oh my God, I can't believe he's doing this. I can't believe that he's betraying Sam. He's promised to Sam.
He made a promise, and he not even, literally, the corpse is not even cold.
Yes.
Yeah, literally. Because Dean is still in a coma. So he's doing whatever that's happening over there, and he's just like, I got this. Gets out some chalk. At first I thought he had candles, because they're obviously the big jumbo like chalk. And for me, I was like, why do you have candles and why? Oh, wait, it's chalk.
Yes. And so he summons the demon, who appears initially as a janitor, or to be mistaken for a janitor, but John's not fooled by that.
Nope.
And we sort of learn through the course of this conversation that John is wanting to trade the cult for Dean's life.
Yeah.
And he knows this is something a demon can do. He knows this is something the demon is powerful enough to do.
Because he's a higher tier. He's not like your low-level grunt demon.
Yeah.
He's not just, black eyes. He's got yellow eyes. So we come to learn that not just standard black eye. Like, there's like almost like
a hierarchy.
Yeah. Thank you. There's obviously some have more powers than others.
Yes.
And it's dependent. And the yellow eyes can make seems to have like, he's bargaining. They're doing a bargain kind of scenario. He's like, I give you the colt, I give you the bullet, give me Dean's life. And I do love the actor that plays the yellow eye demon is great. So great.
And we'll talk about this actor and about how amazing he is at playing this role.
Yes. And I love that he's just like smirk, and he's just like, Dean is nothing to me. I don't know why you want him back, because I can beat him.
Yeah.
But he's like, just the smile and the way he delivers, like the smile of like, but I need more.
Yeah.
That's not enough. Like that. And I mean, you think you've got the cult. Like once you've got the cult, you can wipe that out. Like you can destroy it. We can't make more bullets. Like this is gone.
Yeah.
And yet you still want more.
Yeah.
And I love that.
And they also have in this conversation, we've had hints of it before, but we get a little bit more that there's something with Sam and the other children, and the demon knows that John knows what's up with Sam, and that he's been playing dumb with his big blowout dramatic reaction last season about not being told about Sam's psychic powers, which I mean, the fact that now we get this reveal that John actually knew what was going on and he still reacted like a dickhead.
It's a dick move. It's big dick energy, and it's not great. And this is the way
it's not big dick energy.
Oh wait,
it's the other thing. It's just being a dick.
Yeah, sorry. Yeah, it's no. He's a big dick with energy of aggression.
Yes,
like just a dick.
It was an unnecessary overreaction given that he already knew Sam had powers, and he clearly already knows whatever it is that's going on.
Yeah, he knows he knows that Sam's not the only one because we have the reveal that there's children, and it's like, okay, well, we've met one of them, so you make the assumption. Yes. Now that we've had this like reveal of children, and it's like, well, yes, technically Sam and can't think of the person who unfortunately took his own life.
Yes,
can't think of his name at this point. And that there's potentially more. And the fact that John knew this and could have helped is just like, wow, painting your colours, mates. You're really...
Yes.
And also just where he replies to the demon of, I'm aware. Like just that kind of like, you don't
like I've known for a while.
I've known for a while, and it's so arrogant. It's just like,
John always is one step ahead. So, but he has a lot of entitlement about always being one step ahead.
Oh yeah, he's very much like, I can sit on my perch and look down on you, and it's just like, and then especially in this exchange between the Yellow-Eyed Demon, I always feel like John wants to be above the demon, but not in a way of like coming from a good place, if that makes sense. Like it feels very much like, I'm better than you, and I don't care, and I'm going to be better than you by even taking sneaky ways to be better than you. Whereas Sam and Dean would never.
Yes.
And that's what I don't like about great exchange, but I just don't like that. That's John's approach of just like, I don't care. I'll beg, borrow, and steal to be better than you.
Yes, absolutely, 100%. But again, just have to say, props to Jeffrey Dean Morgan.
Oh yeah,
he's only played this character like 3 times, and he has so much knowledge and understanding, and like
he gets what he needs.
He really knows how to.
He sees the words on the script, and then he can turns it to make me sit there and go, you're a piece of shit, and I hope you die.
Yeah, and it's 2 actors doing really amazing work, and beautifully lit, beautifully shot by Kim Manus, beautifully written by Eric Kripke. It's all of the things in one scene. Yeah. In this whole episode is all of the things.
Oh, it's all of the things. That's why I think it's one of my favorite episodes, is because it has so many moving parts that all moving together, but they all run concurrent.
Yes.
So, and then they all join at some point, and it's great.
And so we sort of have these 3 things happening.
Like narratives kind of happening.
We've got Sam, he's at Dean's bed, and this is my note actually just says, oh God, Jared is so Sam now.
Yeah.
Like this devastation, and he's sort of begging Dean to stay. And so we've got that happening. We've got John making this deal, being told the cult isn't enough, but we don't really get the reveal of what that means.
And there's just a smirk of just like, I want more. And it's like, well, what is more? What is more to give?
Yes.
And we don't know.
And then we have, and then we sort of ultimately cut back to Dean and Tessa. They're sitting on the bed, and Tessa's kind of rubbing his back and like,
it's okay,
essentially talking him into leaving. And him sort of, you can sort of see that he's turning, the tide is turning, and he's like, maybe this is my time to go.
This is my time. And it's
in my time of dying.
In my time of dying, her air. I mean, and it's just the nurturing. It's like, this, what she's doing.
The death is something to not fear.
And it's comforting, and it's, even though you're like,
it's natural.
It's natural. It's organic, and it's, again, it's why I love this character, because she gets it.
Yes.
Everything's happening, and then out of nowhere, well, not really out of nowhere, we sort of cut to, also, America, explain, why is your air conditioning on the ground?
I think it's heating. I don't think it's air conditioning. I think that's where heating is.
Okay, cool. Because I was like,
because then it's like, because hot air rises. So if it's
that
in
makes sense. Yeah. Okay, cool.
Yeah. So it's not an air conditioning grate. It's, as best as I can understand, guys, it would be a heating grate.
It's a heating grate. So I mean, America / Meghann solved that for me, because I was like, why is it on the ground? But we sort of get this. Budget has for CGI swarming has come good.
Slightly higher grade.
Higher. We're not peak, but we're definitely up from where we were. We see this black cloud, thick cloud come through, and Tess knows what this is. Tessa knows what this is, and she's like, no, you can't do this.
Yes.
And then, as we know, with Black Cloud, goes into a body.
Yes.
Quote unquote. Possession.
Yes. And so now Tessa is possessed by the yellow-eyed demons.
And the switch that she does in that little 10-second of like, I was stoic, I'm calming, I'm like a mother, nurturing, it's okay to, I'm the yellow-eyed demon.
Yeah. And claps. I will say this is a really funny behind the scenes thing.
Oh, yes.
So in later seasons they CGI eyes to make them look like demon eyes, which is
it makes sense.
But in these early seasons, it's really it's contacts. It's those big sclera contacts.
Yep.
And in the bloopers, there's like a good 10 times of her trying, because she turns and like puts her hand on Jensen's head and like send Dean back, and it's just her because she can't see. She's completely blind with these contacts on.
You would be, because they're like yellow gold, glittery almost.
And it's just her like smacking him in the face or like missing his face, and like because obviously no one can help her. Like she has to get that mark on her own.
Jensen would be like on the ground going, "Oh God, you keep hitting me, but also this is great." This is going in the bloopers.
Yes. And so, so there's some really funny bloopers of her trying to, because she's blind.
She's like,
in these contexts, trying to hit that mark, and missing and like hitting him and like, or going like too far or too short. So it is very funny. But she turns around, puts her hand on his head, or the yellow-eyed demon does, and we snap back.
And the one line of "Today's your lucky day."
Yep.
Boom.
And then we're back. Sam is talking to the doctor. Dean is sitting up in bed.
Before that happens, obviously, Sam's in the bed, obviously quite upset, quite sullen, because he's essentially losing 2 family members.
Yes.
Because he doesn't know what's happened to Dad.
Yes, he doesn't know where John's gone.
Yeah, we don't know. And before this actually happens, John says to the yellow demons, like, "I'll give you whatever you want, but I need to see them with my own 2 eyes that they're both okay."
Yeah.
And the yellow demon's like, "Oh, don't you trust me? You know, you're making a deal with me. You should be." But anyway, we don't know if that's going to happen.
Yeah, and they're like, "I can't explain it. I couldn't possibly explain what's happened. Like, there's no way this recovery, like, I don't understand this recovery.
Like, it's a miracle."
And Sam is sort of like, "So you don't remember anything?" And Steen's like, "No." And so he's forgotten everything that's happened. And so he obviously does not know the yellow-eyed demon had any role in this.
Nope.
He obviously doesn't remember meeting Tessa at all.
But he knows it's not right because he has a pit in his stomach.
Yeah, he's like, something is wrong about this.
He's like, I know everything's okay, but there's this pit in the stomach and I can't shake this feeling.
Yeah. And then John comes in and he's like, happy to see that Dean is okay. And this is where they have this interaction where... I
have some feelings about this one.
This is for me, this is where I'm like, oh no, Eric knows, like he gets, he's not stupid about how this character is and who this character is, because he comes in and he says, back when you were a kid,
before he sends out Sam, because he asks Sam to go get a cup of coffee.
Yes, he asks him to have some caffeine.
I'm pissy.
Okay.
Because you go through your thing and then I'll say why I'm pissy.
Okay.
I mean, I'm pissy about a lot of things, but I'm like extra level pissy on this.
Okay. You do remember this is a spoiler-free podcast?
Yeah. Yeah.
Okay, cool.
Yeah. It's about this situation. Like this dynamic, this interaction right here between the 3 of them.
Okay. So he sends Sam out to get some caffeine, and he's like, when you were a kid and I'd come home from a hunt, you would come up and, all the stuff that I'd seen and what I'd had to do, you'd come up and tell me that it was okay. And that meant so much to me. And then he says, like, that shouldn't have happened. Like, I should not have put that burden on you.
Yeah.
I was so focused on what I was doing, and you took all of this on and you never complained, and I made you grow up too fast. And, all of this stuff that we've been saying in the last couple of episodes about like what John put them through, this self-awareness that John has in this moment is obviously, for me, of Eric Kripke being aware that like he's not making out John to be anything other than what he is. Like, he knows how John is written, and he's aware of it, and it's not unintentional how it's coming across. Like, he's aware, and again, it's definitely for me too little too late. Like, good for you that you worked all this out, but you could have worked this out at any point in the last 27 years of Dean's life. So, but yeah, for me, this was definitely that moment of like, Eric knows what he's doing.
And it's almost very much like I'm trying to absolve some of my sins. And I don't...
But I don't know that Jeffrey or Jensen or Jared or Eric or anyone is trying to absolve John.
No.
I don't think any of the people who are involved are trying to absolve him. It's John trying to absolve himself.
Yeah, well, yeah.
But it's not played as a hallmark moment.
Yeah,
sentimental,
no,
finally they've healed.
Yeah, no.
It's not played that way.
Again, it comes down to the big burr and steel kind of personality that John has.
Yes.
And that's why I don't... Can I have my feelings now?
You can have your feelings
okay. I have a big thing, right?
Yes.
As someone who has lost a parent, because we've John does not stay in this. John goes away.
Yes.
And he doesn't do what Kat thought was basically skip to Cuba and then lives his life. just leaves. That does not happen.
Yeah.
For me, as someone who's lost a parent, I had a moment where I got to say goodbye.
Yeah.
And it has helped me understand, my relationships and things like that. I'm glad I've had it. At the time it was very hard, but retrospectively, it's good to have closure.
Yes.
As someone who loves closure, I got enough to get me through.
Yeah.
This for me, I hate because he sends Sam away, which is what Sam did when he wanted to leave a situation, when he went off to college. It feels very much like, I'm sending you away.
Yeah.
Go away.
Yeah.
He then has this beautiful exchange for the moment.
Yes.
Doesn't absolve all the bullshit and all the crap, all the fuckery, tomfoolery that has happened for both their lives. And then Sam doesn't get that.
Yeah.
That fucks me off. And it's intentional and I understand why.
Yes.
It's all on purpose. But as a viewer, when you have, especially if you've rewatched it, if you haven't seen it in a long time and you're rewatching it, if you've grown up and you've obviously matured, you will see that it was why John never gets that, saint status through the whole show.
Yes.
And it's great because that's how real life is.
Yes.
And that's what I enjoy. But I didn't enjoy this because it's and even my partner, he said, hang on, does he not do anything for Sam? And then that is good in a way in the sense that John is acknowledging that Dean was the glue that held this whole family together.
Yeah.
And, backs that up. But what's Sam? Chopped liver?
It's very consistent.
Oh yeah, it's very much on brand.
Yes.
But also it makes me think, what did the yellow, he knows what's happening with Sam.
Yes.
And another big old dick move.
Yes.
Does not tell Sam, does not disclose what's happening with him to his face. And it almost feels like there's something wrong with you and therefore I'm not going to give you the closed package that I'm going to give to Dean.
Yes. And I don't know that he necessarily gives anything to Dean.
No.
Because then he leans in.
I say closed package with quotations.
Because he then leans in and whispers something to Dean that clearly disturbs Dean. And that's why he sent Sam away.
Yeah.
Is because he didn't want him to hear this and he needed to tell him this.
Yeah. And I don't, again, all these things, it just rounds out the fact that John is not a great father.
No, he's not.
But we've known that forever. But
yes. And then, John sort of walks to his own room.
Yeah.
He puts the colt down. Sam walks past with the coffee. And I love this shot. This is so beautifully shot because it's shot from the ground and you see the coffee cup drop in slow motion and Sam running in and it's out of focus and he's looking over John's body.
And he's screaming help.
And ultimately John dies. And
doesn't go to Cuba.
That is the end of the episode.
Yeah, pretty much. It's one of my favorites because there's so much that's happened. Every character has got layers. It's no one's stealing focus. It's not a fun episode in the sense of there's a lot of hard-hitting topics. But I do love that, we're starting to really get what's in the first episode. We already know we've been set up with a seed that's going to grow in for the season, for the whole season arc.
Yes. And sort of how do they handle losing John and all of that sort of stuff. So thank you for coming back to us in season 2.
Season 2.
We're very excited to be back. As always, follow us on Instagram, follow us on Twitter, send us an email.
Yep.
We will talk about it, pod@gmail.com. Find us on our Twitter. It's some version of We Will Talk About It. I'm sure it won't be that hard to find.
Yep.
On Instagram as well. If you need show notes, they're at wewilltalkaboutit.com. And that will be where you can find links and all kinds of fun things. So in the meantime, stay safe and I hope your Reaper is hot.
Oh, yeah.
Bye.
Bye.